Hello. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to replace a module. The moving averages module has been upgraded, and I have an older chart that has it on there. So I'm going to replace it. Now, you could just click and remove it, but if you do, it's going to remove the entire tree. What you need to do is to find the module it's linked to. In this case, it's the MACD module, and unlink it. Now that MACD is unlinked from the moving averages module, now we can replace the moving averages module. Okay. Now we add a new moving averages module. Let's move it back up to where we want it, which should prove interesting. You don't need to, but for purposes of setting alerts and keeping track of activity, I prefer setting the order so that I can keep track of what I am doing. Okay, I need to go up one more. Okay, no I don't. So now let's go into the settings and tune it. And I'm going to tune it using the most recent update for the multiplier, which should prove interesting. But before I do, I want to realign the MACD module to use the moving averages. That way I see my changes in real time in the chart. So let's begin tuning. Okay, so first thing I want to do, I like split channel just because I personally believe it gives better options, but it's strictly preference. I'm going to go into a momentum. And I'm going to set my length to 273. Now let's tune the multiplier. Now, out here in the open, I'm going to double click. And now I'm going to tune the multiplier based upon this chart. I want to catch the peaks and the valleys, but I want to get rid of all the interim noise. So let's start by, too much. Honing in to the numbers. Of course, I got to pay attention to my typing. As you can see, it's very easy. Okay, so now let's, there. Now the lower boundary, the bottom is 0. So we need to be a little more careful with it. Too low. And yes, this is literally just trial and error, picking the numbers that seem to work well. Each chart is different, and each chart will have different numbers. Okay, there we go. Now that the chart has the lows and the highs set, let's go back to and see how it affects the performance of this recipe. Okay, strategy long, stochastic, and now we will double check all of the setups. Make sure everybody is linked up properly. And check time frames to see which one aligns best. So now that we have the highs and the lows, and I may need to adjust them even more as I continue to climb. But I think I like the 5-minute best, and I like the 1-minute best. So let's turn this off for now so I can see where its markers fall. All right. Let me make sure. I might need to invert this. There we go. Now let's turn this linkage back on and see what I get. Not quite. So we need to find out exactly where the differences are. And to do that, we zoom in. Because I am probably going to need to set a holding for X number of candles. And yes, I will. Three candles should do what I need. So I want to hold the candle count by 3 on both buy and sell. And that should line us up, and it does. So now let's turn this back on. There we go. We're still not lined up here the way we should. But that should be just a matter of turning this linkage off and seeing where it falls. Of course, it helps to hit the right buttons. Okay. Okay, so 1, 2. So this one needs to stretch for 3 candles as well. Alright, it actually stretches for 5 candles. So, let's see if there are other areas in highlight to help us hone this in a little better. Here we go. Here's another sell marker. Yes, this is literally trial and error. Especially when you add more layers like this one. And this needs a little work. But anyway, the point of this video is to show you how to replace the moving averages module. It is easy, but you do need to remember to unlink the module that is linked to the module you want to unlink, or it will delete the entire chart. So, as you progress, be sure to consider your options when you're updating your modules. Take your time and always check your linkages. This really completes this video in terms of updating the moving average. But now let's see if I can actually figure out how to get these back in line. So this might be an interesting little trial and error approach. Well, I figured out how to line up these indicators again. And yes, it is trial and error very often. Okay, what I'm doing is just changing the numbers and pressing the Enter key. And that forces TradingView to update the chart so I can see the process by which everything is happening. And we're starting to get some results, because we now get the stochastic to line up. So let's see where it falls. Okay, so we've got some results. So let's see if we can get okay, there's the buy marker. But no buy marker in stochastic. Okay, wait a minute, that sold off. That sold off actually pretty good for DCA. Let's put this to strategy though, and this to price. Let's see what we can do if we really max this thing out. And yes, this is the old DCA module. So it looks like we're going to have to replace this one too. So we get a double feature. Okay, so that's unlinked, deleted. And now let's go get the new DCA module. So I guess this video is a 2-for. Get the update 2 modules for the price of 1. Okay, now let's turn off the noise. All necessary for the DSR, but not necessary when you're trying to read the chart. Okay, so let's go to the stochastic signal line, historic data, price action. Since this is going to be a very long term, and let's go with strictly organic. Tab key just moves back and forth. Okay. And here we go. A pure organic system. That I'm not getting right somewhere. Always check your linkages if you see weird things. There we go. Now we see where our lineups are and where we are not lining up. And we are not lining up anywhere right now. Which means either 1, this is too limiting, or 2, I just have a bad market. But I suspect the moving averages module is just too limiting. Okay. Stochastic might be some limits as well. Let's see. Might need to tune that one. Alright, so let's okay, I am three off. So let's see how many bars we carry. And add 3. That should line us up. Now if I come back up here and I turn on the indicator on indicator, that should give us a marker right here. And it does. So now we just need to work on this marker. So, as I said, trial and error quite extensively. So, actually there. Alright, so multiplier of 1 here. This is what I'm looking at right here. That marker. Alright, so that one looks good. Now let's find a sell marker. Okay. We need to link this back up now. But once we find the marker. Okay, we're still in an upward trend. Still in an upward trend. At least as far as the moving averages module is concerned. Let's zoom this in a little bit. Okay. Alright, so let's tone this down. Okay, let's see how this works. And sell. No sell marker here. But we have sell markers there. So now we turn this one back on and see if we're close. Okay. Long-term recipe, but it looks like wow. Now this is nice. Okay, time to save this. That's a nice little tidy profit. Let's see what kind of profit we actually have. Turn off some of the noise. And let's tone this down a little. And darken this up where we can read it. 3.5% for a trade and 7 trades using this recipe. That's pretty nice. So we've replaced 2 modules and retuned this one to come out with a pretty sweet little profit. Hopefully this video showed you that it's not as complicated as it looks, but it does need a little bit of practice here and there. It's easy enough to get used to once you get into the habit of doing it. It is just a matter of trial and error and playing with the numbers to tuning it, to getting some very nice results. Until next time.